Good evening and welcome to Bent TV. Tonight we meet Rosalina and Brianna Curtis, co-founders of Sisters and Brothers in Tea. We hear their personal recent journeys and why they had to move to Sydney. And we hear from Peter, cousin of Brianna and Rosalina, who explains how he became involved in Sisters and Brothers in Tea and his support of sister girls and brother boys.
Hello, my name is Rosalina and
my name is Brianna.
And we are here to talk about some of our life's journey up until now. We are Central Islander sister girls.
First of all, I'd like to say, what is a sister girl? A sister girl is a transgender Aboriginal person who is, born male, but transitioning to female. And a brother boy is the opposite, a trans, born female, and now living as male.
We are a part of an organisation that we are co-founding members. We founded an organisation back in the Northern Territory called, the name is Sisters and Brothers NT.
Providing a service to those who live in remote communities within the Northern Territory, and it's more or less a support network. And I'd like to talk a little bit about my life's journey at the moment. I'm originally from Alice Springs, grew up in a community called Ngunara in Central Australia. English is not my first language, it's a bad number, probably my number 8th or 9th language. I speak several languages before then. Yes, and as a sister girl, I came out, I always knew who I was when I was growing up. But growing up in a very remote community where there was not knowing about sister girls or gay or lesbians or anything like that. And it took a lot of time for me to identify myself and to find myself. But I always knew that I was different. Growing up in a very remote community. The first time I met a transgender person when I was about 9 or 10 years old, I approached this person and I asked her if she was male or female, and I knew straight away that she was trans. And I think that's when I started to know who I was as a young person. I felt different inside, and it was, for me it was a journey and evolving, becoming a person who I am today. It was over time I went back into the closet, tried to live a straight male life. That did not work. Then I came out as gay, and that still wasn't me. I felt inside that I was female. So over time, I identified myself, and meeting other sister girls and transgender people, I knew who I was inside, and I finally had the courage to come out and to transition as female.
Coming out, I'm growing up to trying to identify and find who I was. It was hard trying to, because back there, where we come from, it was visibility of trans people was, it was you couldn't see. So we didn't really know what sister girls was until we traveled to other communities and seen other sister girls in other communities, and we thought, oh my gosh, there's people like me out there. And growing up was difficult until you go traveling to other communities and finding other sister girls. I came out as a teenager. Then my mum asked me, straight out if I was a sister girl, and I said, yes, Mum, I am. And she gave me a big hug and she said, doesn't matter, and you're still my baby. And ever since from then, I guess I just kept going, upwards on my journey. But it wasn't easy. It was very, very hard along this to where I come now. Things are slowly, gradually improving. However, it is a very hard journey, and it has taught me to be more stronger and resilient, within myself and my identity as a sister girl.
Yes, it has been a very hard journey growing up in a very remote community, remote Australia, feeling isolated. At that time, when we were teenagers, there was a very high suicide rate amongst teenagers, and the depression and anxiety that I faced within myself, I had very deep, dark thoughts about suicide, even a few attempts of suicide, and it is not an easy journey. It's very hard, and to find myself and to come out on top of it. And I'm here for a reason, and I'm still here today. And these are the things that we go through. The cultural barriers as well. In our culture, sister girls did exist, but over time that was lost, and we're trying to bring that back in again. So a lot of times we suffered discrimination, judgments from family members, community members, bullying in high school as well, that could lead to these sort of things. We've lost a lot of sister girls, brother boys to suicide, and we are trying to help prevent that from happening again.
We are doing this to save lives. Our younger sister girls and brother boys' lives matter. Not only we are a minority, we are a minority of a minority of a minority of a minority, and we are very rare. And people need to understand this and help look after our younger sister girls and brother boys.
Over time, when I first started identifying as being sister girl, there have been a lot of discrimination. Like when I threw away my boy clothes, I've said it again that a lot of my depression and anxiety went with my boy clothes ever since I started living as my true self, as being transgender. And but then again, sometimes the anxiety would come back when I would be discriminated by people when I go out, dressed as a girl. But back then, in my earlier days when I first identifying as first self-identified as being transgender and had the courage to live as a female fully at that time. And I have been assaulted before a few times. I think there was a pivotal moment in my life when I first started my journey when I was transgender, when I woke up in the ambulance going to the hospital and waking up in the hospital with a bloodied face and stitches in my head and blood all over my face and in my hair and everything. And that was a pivotal moment in my life when I knew who I was, because I was assaulted for a reason. I was assaulted because I was trans. But I used that to my advantage, and I said to myself, this is who I am, and I'm not going to change for nobody. I'm only going to change for myself and for the better. And I am a sister girl, and I'm strong, and I'm going to make through it. And so that gave me a lot of strength, even though that was very traumatic for me. And it's things like these that we have to go through, the discrimination, the assaults that happen within our lives, and that we come across on a daily basis. People can say very rude remarks and even do not, just be very negligent or very rude behavior that can affect somebody's self-esteem. And we have to learn to deal with this in the right way.
Try to imagine what we have to go through and be a little bit more sensitive and more supportive of, sister girls and brother boys.
What kind of assaults and that have you, discrimination have you come across?
I came across a lot of discrimination and assault growing up. Gosh, it's too many, sometimes I wake up, and on days I think about it, I'm like, gosh, I'm still alive. But I'm still here. I had guns, pointed at me, attacked, with knives, axe. But yeah, I'm still here.
And that's the good thing about having family as well and the support of our family. Our parents are very accepting of it. Our mum and dad, our siblings are very accepting of it. Our cousins and aunties are accepting of our transition. And without family and friends, I think that it would have been a lot harder, but with their support, it has given us a lot of strength and a lot of courage. And moved down to Sydney in November last year. The relocation I was living up in the Tiwi Islands at the time. I had a good paying job, but my desire to medically transition, I had to relocate, and the nearest place to do that was either Melbourne, Adelaide or Sydney. And I had said, yep, I had the strong desire to transition medically, so I decided to move down to Sydney in 2014. It has been hard, like moving away from family, moving away from my job, and moving to a place where I did not hardly know any people. But yes, it's been doing very well though. I've been on hormone replacement therapy now for, I think, going on to 9 months, and it's been working very well for me.
And the same with me. I had that strong desire to medically transition, and because it was so hard to find a doctor back in wherever, in remote and rural areas such as Alice Springs, and I thought, the only option was to move to Sydney, and I moved to Sydney over a year ago, and this month actually of August is now 1 year on hormone replacement therapy, and it was a roller coaster ride. That's all I can just say. But it's stabling out at the moment.
Yes, Sydney's been very good for me. I don't want to move away just yet. I'm actually currently dating a man at the moment. He's been very sweet to me. And I'm doing really well with him. He spoils me a lot.
Okay, yeah. I also had, a partner too, and it's been good because back home it's like booty calls, late night, people knocking on the windows and stuff at night. Open your window, open the door, I want to come sleep. By the time the sun come up, they're gone. But, being in Sydney, you can go on dates in public, and I think it's more easier.
Yes, it's so true, because the stigma that we face as being transgender, but the men who have this attraction towards sister girls or transgender people in general are more stigmatized in a way that they get a lot more. They go through a lot more than probably what we would go through as well. The stigma around that, and I'm glad that I found my boyfriend. He does not really care what people think about him dating an Aboriginal transgender sister girl. He's very comfortable within himself. And as Rosa mentioned about the dating back where we come from, it's very hard to find a man who will openly date a transgender person or who would be in a relationship with them. And it is a lot of times we just more or less sexualized and fetishized by these men that they do not want to take anything further than just, yes, exactly what Rosa said, a booty call.
I see myself as female. I use female pronouns. I don't see myself as anything other. I am female, and I am attracted to straight men. And yes.
And what about your birth certificate?
Oh, yes, I'm going to mention that as well. Changed my name legally as well, and that was only a couple of months ago, and I'm happy about that.
She beat me.
Well, I'm 5 minutes older than you, remember?
Yeah, so, one of my greatest victories is the victory of accessing hormones. For 4 years, I've been living as 4 or 5 years, I've been living as a girl. I've struggled so much to access and to get this medication and this support. I think one of my greatest victories was actually having, the first time I took this medication, my body just automatically just fell in love with it. So I think that's my greatest victory about, accessing the hormones.
Yeah, and that's like one of my greatest victories as well, is accessing hormones and
Changing your name?
yeah, and changing my name. And I can finally see things are getting better for me. And even though it was very, very hard to move to Sydney, leaving my full-time job, and it's been very hard to get a job in Sydney. However, I was studying full-time, but it was very hard financially. However, accessing hormones has been a victory. The first day I took the hormones, oh my gosh, it was like I was on cloud 99. Cloud 9.
Yes, something like that.
I just felt all my depression leave my body then. And it's been a journey, and it's been a good one at that.
Yeah, some of my dreams and goals for the future is, as an artist, I've been because I'm an artist, I've always wanted to have my own exhibition. So hopefully I get to do that by next year sometime here in Melbourne. I want to get my own house. I want to get married, I wish.
And have babies.
Yes, have babies too, even if we adopt them. So I want to travel the world, and I want to do a lot of things. Last year I attended the launch for resources for Sister Girls and Brother. It was the actual opening for Sister Girls and Brother Boys organisation, and around that time we had a really great victory, changing the policies in the women's shelter there to be trans acceptive. So now the women's shelter in Alice Springs cannot discriminate or neglect a sister girl or transgender person who is going through domestic violence or any sort of violence like that, and who is seeking shelter. And we've done a lot of we're doing a lot of producing a lot of resources, having education with services, which are all coming on board now and are actually doing something about it to make their policies more trans and GLBTI inclusive within their companies and their organizations. Yes, and we're doing this because the greatest reward is saving someone's life and to helping another person. And that is what we are doing this because we care for people. We all deserve a good life, no matter if we're trans or sister girl or brother boy or gay or whatever you want to call yourself.
Whatever you identify as, everyone should have a good life. I'd like to thank the traditional owners of this land here, where we are doing this interview in Melbourne, and past, present and future.
Thanks a lot for listening to our stories. My name is Brianna Curtis.
Yeah, I'm Rosalina Curtis.
And I hope that you will benefit from listening to our story, and that you can relate to it. And no matter what your struggles are going through right now, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And yes, thank you so much for listening to us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for staying with Bent TV. Please visit our website, Twitter, YouTube channel and Facebook to find the different ways you can support Bent TV, provide feedback and become involved in supporting Bent TV. Back after this break.
My name's Peter Quested. I originally come from Alice Springs. My family come from the Eliora tribe, which is above the Utopia region, about close to 600 kilometres northeast of Alice Springs. We're kind of in between Tennant Creek and Alice Springs, I guess. And my homeland is called El Kidra, which means water, or Quadja in our language. I've lived in Alice Springs on and off for close to 15 years. I came home when I was 21. I was removed as a child and went through link up in Queensland to get home to meet my family. Ever since I came back home to Alice Springs, I've always worked in social services. I started off as an Aboriginal health worker, and in doing so, going home, it was important to find my identity as an Aboriginal fella, but also because I wanted to grow as a young gay Aboriginal fella in the Central Desert region. Since I've been up in Alice Springs, I've built really good bonds with my community and my family, and also got in contact with my two wonderful sisters that you're probably going to meet, Rosalina and Bri. I'm so proud of them. We were all part of a group 3.5 years ago. We went up to a GLBTI workshop camp up in Kakadu, and during that period of time we'd lost a young sister girl out in one of the communities up in the top north of NT. She was a lovely young person who was only about 16 years old and was struggling with her identity. And we've had so many losses since the last couple of years, and intervention hasn't been easy either. So we thought, how can we get some support here for not just for the GBLTI community, but also for the trans community itself. So we sat down and through a group of young people from all different sections of the Northern Territory community, we decided to form this group, this support group. And it's been awesome. I'm not transgender myself, but I have family and friends who are, and I was also a little bit misunderstanding about what transgender was myself. And being with my sisters and my brother boys, I've actually got to learn a lot about their life story and their life struggle to live a fulfilled and happy life, which everyone has a right to do. So I'm really proud here living down here in Melbourne. For me, I've been here for 1.5 years. It's always been an inspiring part of Australia for me, and it's kind of like a snapshot of what I believe Australia should be, a place of multinational community where people learn from each other, and it's inspiring. So for me, coming down here, it's been really good, and it's been nothing but good experiences. It's been wonderful to meet all the Wurundjeri people here and the elders, and it's been very nice to be welcomed into their country, and I respect their country too. And also to be just welcomed into the inner Melbourne city community itself. In regards to brothers and sisters, I've seen the support group, I've seen so much growth in the last 3 years with my two sisters who have had a long and hard struggle growing up in a town camp just out of Alice Springs, and for them to transgend into where they want to go, it's so important, and I think it's important for everyone to live a fulfilled life. So if you're ever feeling kind of lonely or sad and not misunderstood, and you need that support, we're really open people, and yeah, please, it doesn't matter what part of the country you're from, just give us a call or contact us on email or on Facebook. It's called Brothers and Sisters NT. We're more than happy to take you under our wings and be part of our community. Thank you.